Hello and welcome. So I've been wanting to share a build that I've been using for the new P90 that has been working really well for me in terms of damage and survivability. Now first up we will go over the weapon features. It is a bullseye weapon with a 20% chance to apply the bullseye on hit. Every 12 hits triggers an AoE damage, dealing weapon damage equal to 800% attack to enemies within an 8-meter radius, with a 70% damage reduction against metas. When hitting targets with the bullseye with AoE damage, reloads 3% of ammo up to 15%, and then a crit rate plus 20% against targets with the bullseye. So we are going to be focusing on crit rate and crit damage for the weapon. Now as for mods for the weapon, we're going to be looking at Vulnerability Amplifier, which adds an 8% vulnerability to targets with the bullseye. Now as for your substats on your weapon, you're going to want to focus on crit damage, weapon damage, damage against great ones, and max HP. Now this applies to all your mods, even the ones for your armor. As for the accessories for the weapon, for the muzzle we're going to be looking at multi-break, for the optic, compact reflex sight, for the tactics, tactical laser sight, and then for the magazine, the weighted SMG mag. Now as for the ammo, it doesn't really matter, it depends on what you can afford, either the tungsten or the tungsten AP ammo. But if you really do want to get the most damage out of it, you want to look at the smart SMG AP ammo. Now when triggering the bullseye, increases your attack by 10% for 3 seconds. Now for the calibration for the gun, you want to go heavy style, which gives you a magazine capacity plus 60%, and then make sure you go for double crit rate. As for your secondary, you're going to want to look at the recurve crossbow, which when hitting a weak spot will inflict the bullseye on the target, causing all weapons to have a crit rate plus 15% versus the target with the bullseye for 10 seconds. Now you're only really going to use this when you're going up against bosses, but it is still very handy. Now as for the armor, we're going to be looking at 1 piece of Lone Wolf for the extra magazine capacity, 4-piece Treacherous, so we are going to be looking at playing around 40% HP, and then for your key armor, you got 2 options. If you're running silos or doing mobs, you're going to want the Bloodstained Tracker boots. When applying bullseye to an enemy already marked by the bullseye, your attack increases by 20% for 5 seconds, and the bullseye spreads to one other enemy nearby. Now if you're going up against bosses like great ones, you're going to want the Earthly Boots. When hitting marked enemies, damage plus 30%. Now as for the mods on the armor, for your hat, you're going to be looking at the Fateful Strike, the Lunar version. Then for your mask, you're going to want Targeted Strike, Violent. For the top, you're going to want Rejuvenating, Lunar. Now the reason we use this one is when the shield is above 30% of max HP, defeating an enemy recovers 20% of max HP. An excess recovery is converted into a shield lasting 20 seconds with a cooldown of 10 seconds. Now because we're using the Treacherous set and we're locking ourselves at 40% HP with 60% sanity, anytime our shield is above 30%, it's going to automatically convert that into extra shield. Now we already get a 20% shield thanks to the Treacherous side set, and then thanks to the perk in the Cradle Deviant Energy Defense, which when we summon or handle a deviation, it will grant us a temporary shield equal to 30% of max HP lasting 30 seconds. Now once we do this, this will take us to a 50% shield, activating the Rejuvenating. Now even though they have a cooldown of 30 seconds, and with the one from Rejuvenating we're having a cooldown of 20 seconds, anytime you activate a new shield, that resets the cooldown for that specific piece. So you can actually keep this shield active for over 2 minutes. Now as for your pants, you're going to be looking at the Deadshot Violent version. As for your gloves, you're going to go for Crit Amplifier, Violent version. And then for the boots, you're going to want Rush Hour. Now when it comes to the hides for the armor, for the hat you're going to want Lunar Wool. For the mask, you're going to want Starfall Cowhide, which weapon damage plus 8% when stamina is at 120 or higher, and the effect doubles while airborne. Now you can actually activate this just by repeatedly jumping in the air for an easy 16% damage. Then for the top, you're going to want Lunar Wolf Skin. For the pants, same again, Lunar Wolf Skin. For the gloves, any sort of Lunar fur will do just to give you the extra 20% Lunar Whisper yield. And then for the boots, you're going to want Golden Wool. Roll speed fluctuates between 10% and 25% every second. Now as for your Cradle Perks, what you're going to want is Anti-Phase, Resilience, Tactical Combo, Deviant Energy Defense, Energy Surge, Shield Protection, Marked Strike, and then Bounty Hunter. Now as for the food buffs, we're going to keep it simple. If you're going against monolith bosses, you're going to want Bone and Deviated Sausage, grants an extra 15% damage against bosses. If you're not, you're going to want Mixed Fried Hot Dog, used to increase your damage by 20% towards enemies affected by the bullseye. And then for a drink, I just go for Stardust Mushroom Soup, max stamina plus 20% and stamina recovery speed plus 30%. And before any food buffs, this is how our damage is looking. Alright, that is my build for the P90. Let me know what you think down in the comments or what you've been using, and if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.